Well, thank you for this very nice introduction, and thank you to Hortensia, Udo, Melanie, Veronica, and Jenny that make possible that I am here today, and I am very happy to take part in this conference. I have, where is the control? Oh, yeah, sorry. I have 20 minutes to present two projects, and I really want to share the works on the exhibition. Then I will be showing many images. We know that art history has been narrated from the naturalization and of an evolutionary concept of forms and language. Latin American art history has been told from a European and a North American perspective that emphasizes the developments of central poetics understood as packages of forms and ideas spread around the world. Such is their civilizing mission. From this starting point, the styles of Latin American art are only additional chapters characterized by their condition of periphery, a mere afterword, not essential to understand the developments of the great art history with capital letters. Art history can disregard Latin American peripheries, but not vice versa. Undoubtedly, the journey that artists from all over the world made to Paris before the war or to New York after the 1940s were journeys of knowledge, during which, without a doubt, they learned the aesthetic principles of Cubism, Surrealism, or Bauhaus. To decolonize the canon does not mean denying a history of verifiable facts. To decolonize means to emphasize those historical and poetic articulations that allows us to understand the specific before the generalizable. If we were truly consistent in the articulation of genealogies, European avant-gardes should be analyzed as a peripheral chapter of African art, but centers refer to the contact between European and African art with terms such as influence and not legacy. Based on these concerns, together with the artistic director of MALBA, the Museum of Latin American Art in Buenos Aires, Agustín Pérez Rubio, we faced the reinstallation of the museum's collection. I want to say that my curatorial work is based on my academic work. I am not involved with the institutions from the inside, but I work as an invited curator. Then we can talk later some more information I can provide about this museum. The museum opened in 2001 based on the donation of 223 works from the private collection of Eduardo Constantini, and the museum has, at this moment, more than 600 works. And in one way, is probably one of the few museums that can bring together Latin American art in a permanent and exclusive collection of very paradigmatic works by artists like the Brazilian Tarsila de Amaral, the Mexican Diego Rivera, the Mexican Frida Kahlo, or the Argentinian Antonio Berni, the Uruguayan artist Joaquin Torres Garcia, or Wilfredo Lam from Cuba, or Roberto Mata from Chile, to mention just a few of the most recognized Latin American artists in the collection. The new layout of the collection radically differs from the previous one that was organized by the chronological succession of styles. This is from the previous installation. This was the reason why, for example, Berni was installed next to Mata, Wilfredo Lam, and Maria Martins. Stylistic characteristics, whatever they were, in this case surrealism, were organizing the sequence of works together with the chronology. Our installation takes on from two observations. First, that the narration based on the history of European styles moved and subverted in Latin American art had already been told during the previous 15 years of the museum's existence. And then we wanted to tell another story. Second, that in this new installation, we wanted to approach the audience to the way that Latin America had been traveled, searched, written, dreamed, worked, poeticized, marginalized, stripped, and simultaneously the way that artists had resisted and subverted models imposed by the prestige of Western erudite art. We wanted to give visibility to a story that has its own names. To address this, Cubism, Surrealism, or Futurism were of less importance than the names that Latin American artists had created to refer to their works. Words like anthropophagy, muralism, or universal constructivism were more important in this new layout than the European styles of art history. However, in the exhibition display, we didn't use these terms. Instead, we created a structure in which the exhibition and the catalog are different, but with articulating points. We never appeal to the chronology or to a teleological order marked by the idea of progress. We wanted to bring to the audience the experience of being in touch with different languages and different elaborations around ideas, practices, and effects that concern everyday life. Verbo America was the best term we found to give preeminence to this idea. We were also interested on the reappropriation of the term America, which has been taken from us by the United States. We wanted to redefine it from different experiences proposed by the stories presented in this exhibition. The exhibition is organized into 8 sections or topics that are not closed. Many works could migrate from one section to another within the exhibition. In this sense, this proposal removes the corsets that bind works to the chronology or the history of art. It is also important to know that we began our work without a curatorial script. We were working work by work, and then the topics that organized the exhibition were coming out, and where it was then conceived the topics that organized the exhibition. There was a group of works whose forms and images were uncertain: circular shapes, textures, explosions, references to life and death, to the beginning and the end of life, works with incisions that refer to sexuality and determinacy, expansion. We call this first section in the beginning, and it has to do a lot with a pre-formal state, very phenomenological in some way. And as a consequence, we have works from 1914 and from 2006 coexisting in the same room. From this section, the exhibition opens into 2 stories that could be associated with the modernity in some way, and with the other side of modernity, the darker side of a normative, patriarchal, and white modernity, as Walter Mignolo wrote. If we started our tour of the exhibition towards the right, we would be immersed in maps and geographies, the maps traced by world powers, a geopolitical approach, and also the forces that gave impulse to the conquest of this continent, the search of metals, the gold, the mine, the work in the mines, the accidents, the death. The map refers also to the destruction of the planet and ecology, and appeal against the contamination of nature. The focus soon moved from the maps to the cities, Latin American and European cities that artists represented, cities connected with abstraction and the new architecture conceptions, and literary cities, using the term coined by Uruguayan writer Angel Rama, cities that invented writings, even with the body, with the hands, as Liliana Porter does in this Wrinkle series, mailed writings in mail art, elaborate also secret writings that challenge the conditions of censorship and repression under the Latin American dictatorships, and panoptic cities, violent cities battered by iconoclastic violence, and also imagined cities. The work is experienced in the factory and by the women at home. It is also present through protest, the opposition to unfair working conditions, masses in demonstrations, protests, and also between 20th and 21st century anarchism. Posters printed together with the intense mobilization of the period of the 2001 crisis in Argentina were close to the anarchist experiences of visual activism at the beginning of the 20th century. From the urban demonstration, you can see the margins of the city, the marginal areas of poverty and prostitution, and also nature, the countryside, the Patagonia. From the initial section, one can choose between two options or thematic areas, and the work Abopuru by Tarsila de Amaral contains them both. First, because it represents a naked body whose sexuality is unclear, and second, because it was the image that was the departing point for the Brazilian poet Oswald de Andrade to write the Anthropofascist Manifest, in which he, casting Shakespeare with the native Brazilian cannibals, wrote, "To pee or not to pee, that is the question." Bodies, affects, and emancipation is the section that investigates alternative ways of understanding the body. It includes works by the exiled Spanish artist Pache Planas, 1937, that until now had always been exhibited within the corsets of surrealism. We understand it from a queer perspective, as well as the two Fridas by the Chilean collective Yeguas del Apocalipsis. We also included the work by Liliana Maresca offering her own body, and the queer embroidery by Feliciano Centurion. These two last artists died because of AIDS in the 90s. We also include the photomontage illustrating female dreams by Greta Stern, the parodies about sex and normality by the Mexican artist Monica Mayer, the series of photographs from a travesti brothel by the Chilean Passerrasuris, the tangled bodies of Argentine Jorge de la Vega, and the sexual confrontation that touched the abject by Brazilian Maria Martins. The last section, Indigenous America, Black America, introduces the diverse poetics of indigenism. It includes Frida Kahlo's portrait travestied as a chola, the interpretation of the Quetzalcoatl myth by Jules Solar, the Yanomamis photograph by Claudia Anduscher, the mural descriptions of Altiplano by Antonio Berni at the end, and the posters of Ruiz Duran from Peru, designed and printed during the agrarian reform during the government of Velasco Alvarado in Peru. This section also introduced blackness, a legacy deleted in the countries of South America, but with extreme presence, as we can see through the work of Pedro Figari, painted between Buenos Aires and Montevideo, and the works by Emiliano de Cavalcanti in Brazil and Wilfredo Lam in Cuba. This is how we separated these works from their previous cast on the movements of surrealism and pop. The catalog includes a glossary that compiles the notions, names, and concepts connected with the works included in the exhibition. Words, 5 minutes? Yes. Words and notions such as activism, amauta, or amigos del arte are more important for understanding Latin American art than European styles. We also include concepts proposed by critics like Marta Traba or Juanacha or Nelly Richard, and it's also a section where different notions are explained in the catalog for the readers. The glossary is a non-complete project we have opened online so that the public and specialists can propose new terms and definitions. And the last information I want to provide is that in the previous exhibition of the collection, those artists that society classify as women represented 15%, and in this new installation are 38%, which is relevant if you consider that women artists are less than 20% in the collection. The second project I want to refer to, it's a project that will be opening next year, and is connected with the University Museum, the Hammer Museum at LA. Radical women not only consider the outrageous percentage and numbers that demonstrate the lack of representation of women artists in the art system, it is also based on the idea that exists a vast operation of global censorship that has kept alternative sensibilities hidden, alternative to those that dominate in the patriarchal canon and hidden either in the reserves of the museums. The existence of a vast operation of global censorship has not only been detrimental for the women artists, rather than ask what the women artists have lost with this shameful lack of representation, we ask what we all have lost by the impossibility to access many hidden works. Before moving forward, I want to introduce some clarification. When we refer to women artists, we don't do it from a biological or an essentialist perspective, but from a social and institutional approach. Regardless the sexuality choice of each one, from the time of birth, both institutions and society have classified us as males and females. The statistics show us that those who have been classified as women are highly discriminated in almost all professional activities and also in the field of art. This exhibition deals with the body and its representations. Of course, the body is a central topic in the art of the 60s, but what the artists selected here produced was a radical iconographical turn. The shift includes the display of themes and substances that have never been represented or used before, not only menstrual blood, until then considered a taboo, but also motherhood, displacing it from the patriarchal model of the family and the state. Many of the exhibition works address maternity and birth as trauma. They also include performance based on parody. In 1986, Mónica Mayer and Maris Bustamante from Mexico proposed a queer approach towards motherhood, making possible that everybody could be mother for one day. The selection of portraits is very important, not only because it allowed an examination into the personal subjectivity through the self-portrait, but also because it's not working. But also,
so then you go, yes.
Okay. 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 But also because portraits were central in activism against human rights violations under the Latin American dictatorships. Portraits and performance allowed us to include topics as race unrepresented in the elitist and white high culture. Well, I leave you with this.
Tenía 7 años apenas 7 años. ¿Qué 7 años? No llegaba a 5 siquiera. De pronto unas voces en la calle me gritaron, ¡negra! 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 ¿Soy acaso negra? Me dije. ¡Sí! ¿Qué cosa es ser negra? ¡Negra! Yo no sabía la triste verdad que aquello escondía. ¡Negra! Y me sentí negra. Caer. Negra, 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 negra. ¿Qué? ¿Y qué? Negra, sí, negra soy, negra, negra, negra soy, negra, sí, negra soy, negra, negra soy.
Well, to finish, during the 7 years working on this exhibition, we have received enormous support and an intense critique. The last has allowed us to critically consider a list of objections. The project has the power to produce irrational and uncontrolled reactions that expose the political implications of the show. You can see an example during the conference that was held at the Reina Sofia last August, and which tapes are still online. These reactions illuminate the traumatic areas that this exhibition has smoked out, areas that are in need of urgent reconsideration. Thank you.